you should be reading sci-fi. In particular, I think you should be reading cyberpunk right now, because the reason why I think you should be reading it is because thinking about what it is that we're building, where this is going, what are the implications for your children, for yourself, for your grandchildren, and so on. What's this world that we're going to inherit? Because what you build today affects what's going to go on tomorrow. And occasionally, the authors of sci fi actually paint really good pictures of stuff that's happening right now, even though they frame it as being in the future. So, as an example of this, William Gibson in All Tomorrow's Parties has a scene where one of the main characters, she goes into this store. I believe its name is Bad Sector. And she's talking to the clerk inside. And the store sells old computer gear. And she's like, what the hell? Who buys this junk? And the guy tells her basically that it's techs, software developers, and people like that who get it because they need to look at how the old stuff worked, because all of the new stuff is built on the old stuff. And that scene sticks with me because, well, we already live in that world. I mean, the operating system we use is based on Unix System 7, which was built, I believe, 1974, maybe 77. But I mean, it's as old as I am. I mean, it's ancient at this point. God, that hurts. But, we build these systems on top of each other. Mac OS X, which is what I use, is built on BSD Unix, which is it's been around, it's mature, and it's legacy at this point. The whole thing about Anthropic building a C compiler, they compare it against GNU C. Well, GNU C has been around since, God, the 80s? They've been building that thing forever. And, refining it and advancing it and stuff like that. It's a very sophisticated package. And so when you build stuff, a lot of the time you're looking back at old legacy systems. COBOL is a great example. There's so much COBOL. We can't get rid of it. We just adapt to it. So that right there in a sci-fi book, in a couple of paragraphs, William Gibson does a great job of painting a picture of what we deal with in real life already. And with vibe coding, it's only going to get worse. We're going to pile code on top of code on top of code. And good luck understanding any of this stuff without really intense concentration and a lot of tool help to understand it. So that's just one example of why I think you should be reading this stuff. Another example is, I think, kind of amusingly, and you have some homework. You'll need to answer a question for me. But another really good author that I think you should be reading is Daniel Suarez. And the first piece that I'll talk about right now is his first two books that I became aware of him are The Daemon and Freedom. They're two books. They go together. Freedom is the sequel to The Daemon. And in it, this isn't so much homework, although thought experiment. The Daemon in the book is doing all of this stuff, and it's an artificial intelligence, sort of, and it's based on stuff going on. So like when this dude, Matthew Sobel, dies, his obituary hits the news, and this triggers a program to run that sends out, I guess, either an email or a phone call. It's been, I've read the book so many times, you'd think I should have it memorized, but I don't. But it causes an event where Sobel makes a phone call, and he's talking to Matthew Sibak. I forget his first name. God, I'm horrible. But point is, this event happens, and it's, you could implement something like this with a Azure Logic app or an N8N workflow pretty easily. Or there used to be a web service called If This Then That you could use to do something like this, where you're doing a Google search of news, looking for the obituary for a specific person, and when you see this, then you do this thing. I mean, OpenClaw ought to be able to do it like that. And so my thing to think about is, could you implement the daemon today with what we have already, from, between all of these AIs and workflow systems and things like that? Could you actually create the world that the daemon imagines? So those two things, William Gibson, The Sprawl, and Daniel Suarez with his books, Daemon Freedom, are a good starting point if you needed one. And the homework that I have for you is, Matthew COBOL, is he actually Elon Musk? Because the more I watch what's going on in the world, I have a feeling that Elon Musk is going to become Matthew COBOL, because just the stuff. Anyway, so that's what I got. I'm trying to keep this one shorter than normal. I hope that you like this. If you like me talking about books as it relates to a high-tech lifestyle, let me know. I'd like to get this conversation going. I don't know if this becomes a book club type crap, but open to feedback and what you guys want. Anyway, I'm going to wish you a good evening, and I'll see you around. Well, actually, I won't see you, but you know what I mean.